Hey, it's Marin, and this is the yearly 2020 forecast for Leo risings. So for this video, I'm going to start out with the astrology. What are the major transits affecting you or indicating what's affecting you for your next upcoming year as a Leo rising? Then I will also pull out the tarot cards, the Work Your Light Oracle deck cards, and the Law of Attraction cards so that we get both a vertical and horizontal view of what's going to be your experience for the next year ahead. So we'll get started with the astrology with what these slower moving planets are indicating in your sky. The slower moving planets mean that specific areas of your life will be more targeted, and they indicate also where the changes and focal points will be for this year ahead. So all through 2019 until the very end, Jupiter was in Sagittarius in your 5th house. But during this next upcoming year, Jupiter will be in Capricorn in your 6th house. On the end of 2019, Jupiter moved into your Capricorn 6th house, and Jupiter brings expansion, growth, optimism, and increased knowledge into that area of your life. The 6th house has to do with daily routine, with health, with taking care of yourself, and also with coworkers or pets. So it anciently had to do with slaves, but I'm gonna assume that doesn't apply to you. Basically, this means that there will be increased growth and opportunity in that area of your life. New opportunities to take care of yourself and your health, new opportunities with coworkers, maybe you're getting a new animal friend. And also February 20th, July 27th, and October 12th, Jupiter will sextile Neptune and Pisces in your 8th house. Meaning that the opportunities that are coming up for you to take care of yourself or new things with coworkers are allowing you to go after your dreams or ideals with shared finances or joint assets in your life. Those dates I mentioned will be the exact times that this goes exact, but this will be a year-long transit of things in your health or daily routine complementing the dreams that you have for your shared assets. Also, a year-long transit that will be happening is Jupiter conjoining Pluto in your Capricorn 6th house. Saturn and Pluto have been transiting your Capricorn 6th house, bringing a huge, come to Jesus reality thing regarding your personal health, probably over the past few years. And with Jupiter joining Pluto there will be like this final blow, this final eruption of things coming to a head of great importance regarding the transformations that need to happen with you and how you take care of yourself or your coworker dynamic. The dates that this will be especially potent are April 4th, June 30th, and November 12th. On May 14th as well, Jupiter will station retrograde at 27 degrees of Capricorn, and on September 12th, Jupiter stations direct at 17 degrees of Capricorn. So if you have any points or planets at 27 or 17 Capricorn, this can be especially focalized for those significations for your life. Also, at the very end of the year, Jupiter will enter Aquarius on December 19th, moving into your 7th house of relationships, meaning that the expansion and growth will transition into relationships for you at the very tail end of the year. And on December 21st, Jupiter will conjoin Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius, so that a new paradigm of collective thought will be starting for you in your area of relationships and partnerships, but that will be the very end of 2020. So also as well, Saturn on March 21st will enter Aquarius in your 7th house. Saturn has been teaching you lessons and bringing challenges and limitations into your personal routine and self-care over the past few years, but starting this year, it will move into your relationship world, bringing new, lessons and challenges into your 7th house. On May 11th, Saturn stations retrograde at 1 degree Aquarius, so if you have any planets or points around 1 degree Aquarius, those will be specifically focalized, like if your descendant is at 1 or early Aquarius, this will be definitely a time for looking back on relationships. And then on September 29th, Saturn will station direct at 25 degrees Capricorn, so there is this motion of the lessons going from relationships in your 7th house back into self-care to revisit that in your 6th house, and then Saturn re-enters Capricorn, July 1st, and then on December 17th, Saturn re-enters Aquarius firmly for the rest of its transit through your 7th house of relationships. Now moving on to Uranus, who is the Great Awakener, bringing changes and surprises, new revolutionary thoughts, itches. You really need to change up your life into your Taurus 4th house. And on January 10th, Uranus stationed retrograde bringing really revolutionary changes into your Taurus 10th house. On January 10th, Uranus stationed retrograde at 2 degrees of Taurus, and then on August 15th, Uranus stationed retrograde at 10 degrees of Taurus. So if you have any planets or points like your IC or any other planets at 2 or 10 degrees of Taurus, expect those to be really shaken up for this next year. Pluto is the planet of crisis, transmutation, putrefaction, things dying out for things to be reborn, and it is still in your Capricorn 6th house of daily routine, so that really is what's getting a metamorphosis this next year. On April 25th, Pluto stations retrograde at 24 Capricorn, and then on October 4th, Pluto stations direct at 22 Capricorn. So if you have anything at 24, 22, or around there Capricorn, those will be points of direct transmutation or transformation this year. Moving on to some interplanet retrogrades. Retrogrades of planets indicate internalizations, delays, or reversals of those planetary significations. So there are times where we can watch out for when to take a step back on what those planets signify. So Mercury retrogrades for this year will indicate times where it's not best to start new writing projects or new communication endeavors, and are instead a better time to withdraw or go within for what that planet signifies, which is the communication and whatnot. So for you, February 16th to March 9th, there will be a Mercury retrograde between Pisces and Aquarius in your 8th and 7th houses. So watch out for anything regarding partnerships or relationships that you're contractualizing or making a formality, especially like starting a new partnership or starting a new joint financial endeavor with a partnership. On June 18th through July 12th, there will be a Mercury retrograde between your Leo 1st house and Cancer 12th house. So especially June into July, be wary of anything contractually or officially regarding yourself, or anything regarding your self-undoing, or anything regarding exile, meditative states. I would not take a vacation or like a personal retreat during this time either. October 14th through November 3rd, there will be a Mercury retrograde between your Scorpio 4th house and Libra 3rd house. Not a good time to start any writing projects or anything going on with your siblings or communication-wise. Also not a good time for anything regarding home property. Would not sign a lease or anything with your family during this time. Moving on to Venus retrogrades. Venus retrograde is a time of internalization, reversal, or rethinking relationships, dynamics, or women relationships in your life. This will be from May 13th through June 25th in your Gemini 11th house. So watch out for starting any relationships that have to do with networking, groups, alliances, and watch out for any females that you're in an organization with during this time. Mars retrogrades indicate relationships that you're going after. They indicate physical work. They indicate conflict in your life. This is not a good time to start new conflict or make decisive decisions that indicate division or slicing something in your life. This will be happening in your Aries 9th house between September 9th to November 13th. This is not a good time to make a choice regarding higher education, long distance travel, philosophy, or authority. Don't get into conflict with authority this fall. Watch out for that. So let's move on to the eclipses. Eclipses indicate where the collective evolution is hitting you in your life and where you're being asked to upgrade into new states of awakening and being in your life. So for this year, this is a transition year between the eclipses having been in your Cancer, Capricorn 6th and 12th houses into your Gemini, Sagittarius 5th and 11th houses. So the focus will be changing from health and routine and mental health and routine into creativity, fun, children, and groups and networking, a much more public area for you to focus on. So starting out on January 10th, there will be a lunar eclipse, a full moon at 20 degrees of Cancer, the final full moon culmination high point in your Cancer 12th house for something to be released regarding self-undoing, exile, self-sabotage, or meditative states. On June 5th, there will be a lunar eclipse, a full moon at 15 degrees of Sagittarius in your 5th house. A good time to release this first burst of new energy regarding art, creativity, romance, or children. And then on June 21st, there is the final solar eclipse new moon at 0 degrees of Cancer. The final time for you to embark on what you want to set anew for the next 6 months in terms of self-undoing, releasing old patterns, or going into meditative psychological focus states. On July 5th, there is a lunar eclipse, a full moon at 13 degrees of Capricorn, the final culmination for things in your 6th house of health, routine, daily habits. On November 30th, there is a lunar eclipse, a full moon at 8 degrees of Gemini, the first culmination for you in terms of networking, alliances, what you want to release or display for your group social world. And then on December 14th, there is a total solar eclipse, a new moon at 23 degrees of Sagittarius in your 5th house. This big culmination, this big release and public moment for your 5th house of children, creativity, and romance. So with that being said, let's move on to the tarot and see what 3 cards come up for the first 3 parts, or the first part, second part, third part of 2020. Ooh, this is really interesting because we have all Pentacles cards, which is indicating that this is a year of setting structures and like laying the foundational groundwork for this year. First card, first part of 2020, we have the 10 of Pentacles reversed. So you do not realize the outcome that you're building up towards, or you're like, you have a long way to go and you aren't at the end of whatever project you're working on or the focus of your life at all. Maybe this is probably having to do with self-care and setting the stage for something with coworkers or your daily routine that you still haven't figured out that sweet spot in terms of how you live your life yet. Second part of 2020, we have the 9 of Pentacles. That's funny. These are like well shuffled cards too, so that's crazy that this would come up. But the 9 of Pentacles inverted, make sure that you're not having losses in your, like, try to figure out where you're losing in your production. You're probably not going at things the most efficiently. You're probably not letting the teamwork that's going on be at its highest connection. There's a disconnect and an inefficiency going on. Finally, oh my god, this is so weird, 8 of Pentacles. Like, this is, literally this card is so well shuffled, I don't know how this happened. 8 of Pentacles is a card of doing things slowly, methodically for the best result. This is a humble card. This is you at the end of 2020 returning to little by little progress in your projects, in your dedication, in getting your life a hold of your life and what works for you. This is indicating that you're like, okay, I can't skip the process and I'm not going to cut corners. Now let's look at the Work Your Light Oracle deck for a head, body, heart spread. 3-card spread here. So first card we have is Starseed, what lights you up. You might have lost sight with what daily routine or little mundane things you enjoy doing, like making coffee or meditating or going for a walk. What little things that spark your mind, light you up, that you can reincorporate. For body, we have boundaries. Where do you need to establish better boundaries? This definitely relates to self-care and like where do you physically need to end old habits and the way that you're eating, living, exercising. Where do you need to end the way that you're using your space or how you're holding space for yourself? What boundaries do you need to draw? Maybe you need to say, no, I'm not going to take on this many things, or I'm not going to go out at night because I know I need my sleep. Like, where do your boundaries need to be drawn? And then for the hard card, we have Dance with Life. Do something to change your energy. You've probably been in a rut really focusing on trying to get your routine back together, and maybe the magic to solve that issue or that dynamic is to reinvigorate yourself with the spontaneity and the intuitive nature of living life and realizing that that is where the routine will come into play. So now let's pull a Law of Attraction card to see what attraction guidance is coming through for Leo risings. I am not in competition for well-being. Competition can serve you if it stimulates your desire, but it can be a disadvantage if it hampers your belief in succeeding. In this unlimited universe, there is no need to compete for well-being, for your resources are unlimited. You may perceive a shortage, but it would be of your own making. You're not in competition to be the most aligned, to be the most productive, to be the most healthy. You're in a process of aligning with yourself, and if you can stop externalizing what you're trying to get and instead rotate the focus inward to simply intuitive harmony, that might solve a lot of this like rat race mentality going on. So I hope this was helpful. If you did find it helpful, like, subscribe, do all the things. I would love to read for you, and I offer private astrology consultations, which are down below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.